We have thousands and thousands of our fellow citizens whose lives are upside down because their businesses and/or their homes have been damaged, and we have lots of challenges around the state, to say the least.
Laura has now been downgraded to a tropical depression after carving a destructive path through Louisiana. The state's governor said there are challenges ahead, which you heard there. There are at least 6 people killed. Hurricane Laura tore through Louisiana with winds of 240 kilometers an hour, destroying buildings, tearing up trees, leaving nearly 900,000 people without power across 3 states. And that destruction also sparking a chemical plant fire in Lake Charles. Laura downgraded to a tropical storm after passing into southern Arkansas. It is still expected to dump up to 18 centimeters of rain on the state. Let's get more now. We're going live to Lake Charles, Louisiana, with CNN correspondent Daryl Forges. Daryl, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are now and what's happening?
Yeah, Melanie, right now I'm in the heart of Lake Charles, and we're just well over 24 hours since Hurricane Laura made landfall as a strong Category 4 hurricane with some strong wind gusts, as you just talked about how fast those wind gusts and how powerful they were. And the damage, as you saw yesterday into today, it's catastrophic. I want to go ahead and show you what we're seeing right here behind me. This, Melanie, used to be a restaurant called Golden Corral. This was actually built earlier this year. Look at the damage, just destroyed. You could just see how heavy that damage was. And then we pan on over, you can just continue to see more damage from other buildings from Hurricane Laura. Now, this is what we're seeing all across the city because of how heavy those winds were. And also, Melanie, there was a tornado that touched down in Lake Charles as well during that hurricane. So at this point, people are trying to survey the damage, figure out what they need to do to begin to pick the pieces back up. Now, 6 people did die from this hurricane, including a 14-year-old girl, after she was staying inside of her home and the tree collapsed onto her home. That was one of the unfortunate stories that we've heard during this hurricane. Now, we've also heard from people who say that they heard Laura go right past their homes, and it just sounded like a freight train was going right by them. Just a scary situation and a scary moment for them. Now, we do know that this hurricane has been downgraded to a tropical storm, but it's still going to cause some significant rain for people up north, including in states like Arkansas and Tennessee. And the mayor of Lake Charles says that when it comes to water being restored in this area, he says that at this point their water pumps have been destroyed because of the hurricane, and that at this point that the faucets in many homes here barely have any water coming out of them. Now, as for the power, well over 700,000 people overall are without power. But when it comes to this area, the mayor says it may take days, perhaps even weeks, for power to be restored. Melanie?
These are some incredible images here, Daryl, that you're sharing with us. So when it comes to a recovery effort or relocating residents, how complicated, do you know, is it given the current COVID-19 situation?
Well, that's the big thing, Melanie. Even though we have to pick up the pieces behind me here in Lake Charles, we're still living in a pandemic. So, of course, you're going to see people picking up the pieces, trying to do the best they can as a member of the National Guard drives past me because they have been deployed to areas like Lake Charles. The biggest thing, people will be wearing masks and social distancing, but that's not going to stop them from coming together to help those in need. So you're going to see this community here in Lake Charles and places like Sulphur, Louisiana, who also suffered the brunt of the damage. Even during this pandemic, they're going to do the best they can to come together, to do the best they can to be there for each other and recover and pick the pieces back up from this hurricane, Melanie.
It's horrible to see. Daryl, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for that. That's Daryl Forges live from Lake Charles in Louisiana.